Who is Alabama's biggest breakout candidate on defense in 2025? It's a question that I've been asked numerous times this offseason. Let's talk about it. What is up, everybody? Clint Lamb with A to Z Sports and Cover Crimson. So it's the question that you always get asked. It doesn't matter if it's the offense or the defense. Who's your biggest breakout candidate? Who are some guys that we need to be keeping an eye on? Well, we've talked extensively about a lot of players on both sides of the football, but there's one player in particular on the defensive side. And while I could go down numerous lanes, there's one player in particular, due to the importance of the position that he plays, due to his importance at that position and how much of a critical factor he is to his position, and his own talent being a former five-star recruit, and that is interior defensive lineman James Smith. But before we dive into my thoughts on Smith, let's talk about what David Ballou recently had to say at Alabama's media days earlier this week when it comes to James Smith. So what he said was, James had a phenomenal offseason, A+. If I was grading our roster from offseason production, James Smith would be in the top 5. The physical numbers have been great. The body composition, he's put on 9 pounds of lean mass, but it's outside of that. It's the consistency, the maturity, and just the intentionality he's come with to training. I couldn't be more happy with where he's at right now, not just physically, but mentality-wise, and I really hope this kid plays like what I just saw from January to July. So that is super high praise from David Ballou. I mean, this is a guy who works with all these players, more than the coaching staff does during the offseason because of all the weight room work that they get. And, just the mentality in which James Smith has come to work every single day, it's really encouraging. And what I think is most encouraging about that is when you go back and watch him in the bowl game against Michigan, being a player who had only played, he had been a strong rotational piece this past season. He had been a part of Alabama's defensive line, a pretty important part of it, but he was not a starter. But what you saw in that bowl game against Michigan is a guy who was playing passionate. He had energy, and he was super effective. And when you look at the combination of all of that, you say, okay, I love that. But can he carry that over to the 2025 season? Because if he can be one of the best interior defensive linemen in all of college football. Well, when you hear stuff like this from David Ballou, it just reinforces that idea that this guy has continued to take that approach. He's been productive through the offseason. He finished last season strong. And from everything that we've heard through the early parts of fall camp, he's continued that into or onto the practice field. And so, once again, you have to be encouraged by that. And when it comes to Smith and just his importance to his position, Alabama has a really good defensive line. Tim Keenan is a steady, stout player, great nose tackle, multi-year starter. Absolutely love these back in Tuscaloosa. You got guys, that next wave of player like Jeremiah Beeman and Edric Hill, who we're expecting to be a massive part of the rotation. You've got guys like Steve Boomois, who is, has a lot of physical tools and raw ability, still needs to put it all together, but he's got a bright future in Tuscaloosa as well. But James Smith might be the most critical factor to Alabama's interior defensive line in 2025. Now, I don't want to discredit Keenan. Alabama's got to continue to do a good job of stopping the run between the tackles. Obviously, Keenan's going to be a massive part of that. But James Smith's ability to not only stop the run at a high level, but also get after the quarterback and impact the passing game, I think is going to make him a critical piece to Alabama's success. This guy's big, he's powerful, he's disruptive, and you've seen him do that in spurts throughout his first couple of years at Alabama. We just need to see it with a little bit more consistency. But he even said himself at media days, as a freshman, he thought he probably should have been playing more, but in hindsight, he realized he needed some time to grow and develop and learn. And so I think he's benefited from having that year and then this past season getting his feet wet. Like I said, he was a big part of Alabama's rotation, but he didn't start any games. Now he's going to have the opportunity to be Alabama's starting 3 technique next to Tim Keenan, and I think he's going to take full advantage. And Alabama needs him to take full advantage because, like I said, we're expecting improvement as far as the exterior pass rush. Like whether you're talking about LT Overton off the edge, he'll be doing some situational stuff inside, but mostly off the edge. You got Quay Russaw, you got Yanze Pierre, Keon Keeley's coming on strong. We're expecting improvement as far as the Wolf playing opposite the Bandit and being able to apply pressure on quarterbacks. But if they can get a consistent complementary interior pass rush from a guy like James Smith or a guy like Edric Hill, that is going to make a significant difference as far as how this defense functions. They want to lead the country as far as takeaways. This will certainly help that. They want to have an improvement as far as creating or generating negative plays. This would help do that. So I'm really excited to see how James Smith continues to grow and evolve, because from what I've seen personally and what David Ballou has been saying about his offseason, he has some really encouraging signs as far as what he could potentially be, which is a first-round, day one NFL draft pick. That's the type of player that this guy is. He's moving in the right direction. I think he is in for a massive season in Tuscaloosa.